So Real Madrid's first drop points of the season. Barcelona in action tomorrow with a chance to go first. Meanwhile, for Atletico Madrid, that victory lifts them up to fourth in the table after what was a stuttering start to the season. This was absolute men against boys. Atleti were fantastic. Real Madrid was shocking.
Well, we could talk about the defence and all those little pieces there from the guys on site. They did. And for those that saw this game, the first 45 minutes in particular, any cross into the box, and there was a lot of them, Real Madrid were at sixes and sevens. I mean, Huijsen he could not handle Soloth. Even Militao, with his experience before he went off, he could not handle the ball into the box. So that was a huge worry for them. I think a lot of this is on Alonso as well. And what if you're Mastantuono, right? And I think this tells you a lot about the mindset. Here we have a young, and he is a young guy, he is inexperienced, but here we have a young man who's looked hot at the start of the season. He's looked on fire, he's looked cocky and comfortable, and he's looked to create things. And you have your first big domestic derby of the season, and he leaves him out. He leaves him out. It's away from home, so you think, well, away from home, maybe he's having a little bit of a panic up. But he brings in a guy in Jude Bellingham that's had, I think Ian Dark said, he's had 21 minutes of football. In what? 2 months? 2.5 months? Going into a derby away from home? He's not ready for that. He's not ready to come into a game of that intensity. And I'm not blaming Jude Bellingham, but you're basically a man down. So when you're a man down in midfield because he's not fit enough, then that puts pressure on the other midfielders. That puts pressure on the back four. And Atletico were excellent in that area. Look, Atletico Madrid, we sat here a couple of weeks ago, or 10 days ago, what's going to happen to them, this big gap. They've had a monumental week because they were losing 2-1 to Vallecano late on, and they dug that one out big time, and they were brilliant today. I mean, I had Macron in the commentary at 4-2 going, why is he going super defensive? Because they could score 5 and they could score 6, but that is their DNA. And the boys were right. They could have scored 6, 7 or 8 today against this Real Madrid side. So this was the humongous kick in the backside that maybe Xabi Alonso needed for some of his players, but maybe also 1 or 2 of his players looking at Alonso as well and going, okay, so I'm delivering for you, but when the big game comes, you're going back to the so-called tried and trusted, even when they're not fit. So a bad day all round on the field and off the field for Real Madrid.
When Real Madrid were bad last season, they were overrun in midfield. And we saw that yet again today. We saw that in the Marseille game, of course, where they were lucky to get that victory. It's a real concern that Xabi Alonso is looking to address, but you just look at the personnel that he has. Is it a case that he hasn't got the players to be able to do it? Is he not employing them in the right positions? Is this a one-off, or is this a concern?
Listen, without question, he has the players to do it. If you look at the talent of Bellingham, who we spoke about all of last season, Gula, Mastantuono, who's come on and been simply outstanding. Freddy Valverde continues to be one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the game today. So it's not a question of whether they have the players or not. Luis Garcia spoke about personality and more directly about Atletico's personality. And I think that's where this game was both won and lost. Real Madrid, for me, their players looked as though, this is a Madrid derby and this is not what we were expecting. We expected a far easier time of this. And in fairness, I thought between Huijsen and Carreras on the left-hand side,
Carreras had a shocker.
They were decidedly poor on the day. But again, 2 young players, their first Madrid derby, so you want to cut some slack. On the other side, the right-hand side between Militao and Carvajal, you've got all the experience, all the know-how. And then in midfield, I thought once Real Madrid took the lead, I expected them to be able to control the game a whole lot more. And that's where I thought they lacked personality, probably missed Mastantuono. Alongside Arda Güler, just to get control of the ball, to control the game, to take some of the tempo out of it. But there was nobody there to do that. Real Madrid simply were not able to, and it allowed Atleti, feeding off the emotion of their fans, feeding off the emotion of the derby, to just go on and run riot here. And in all honesty, Real Madrid had simply no answer for Soloth and Julian Alvarez. And you have to say that I thought as a performance, it's not what I was expecting, and quite clearly not a game they were expecting.
He's had a lot of praise, Xabi Alonso, thus far. I mean, they've not played brilliantly, but they were pitch perfect until this point in terms of points. Not only do I think his team selection was wrong, particularly with the Bellingham introduction at the start, he then takes Arda Güler off for Mastantuono on 59 minutes. Not Tchouaméni, not Valverde, not Bellingham. Bellingham didn't come off till 70, hasn't played any football. He lasts 70 minutes. Güler comes off, who played the pass, I believe it was him that played the pass for Mbappe, and he scored a brilliant goal. Yes, he gave a penalty away, but that doesn't take away from his offensive capabilities. And yet, he takes him off for Mastantuono coming up. That was another one. I was watching the game thinking, why is he coming off? It's almost like he was the easy one to take off. I don't want to take any of those other big experience. And he's been showing this far, it would seem, Xabi Alonso, that he hasn't been frightened to make big decisions, but it was almost like he would...
But is it easier to make big decisions against games you know you're going to win? Like, it's all right to rest Vinicius Junior against...
Make a statement against Oviedo.
Exactly.
Make a statement in this game.
Exactly. This is where you're really found out as a coach, and certainly in this evidence...
because bigger players never like to come off, but they certainly don't like to come off in the big games.
Yes.
The game that everybody's watching. The game that you really need to win. The game where the pressure's on. When you go out for dinner tonight in Madrid and you lose, they're on your case. The punters are on you. These massive games. And maybe that came into his thought process. That being said, though, the back line, we can't get away from the fact that if he'd have got all those other areas correct, it may have been different, but probably wouldn't, because Sorloth, his physicality, he could have had a couple more. Alvarez is just...
Yeah, I was going to say a word on Alvarez. Talk about proper player.
Yeah, tell me where his best position is on the front line. You put him in the right, you put him in the left, you put him through the middle, you put him behind. He's got it all. The only thing he doesn't have is that physicality of the height, but they have others that can do that. And his set pieces are brilliant. His running ability is brilliant. He's technically a very good player, and he's a superb finisher in the final third in terms of he's very efficient. He's very efficient when he's in those areas where it's not a one-on-one, where it's not a guaranteed... it's not an easy chance, it's a difficult chance, and more often than not, he hits the target, makes the goalkeeper make a save. Those kind of players are the quality players because, they're not wasteful, and Julian Alvarez is certainly not a wasteful player.
I thought Atleti on the whole were very good. And let's be honest.
How many saved did Old Black make in the second half?
I can't remember any, to be honest. And the two goals were giveaways. The first was well crafted. Yeah. They get kind of sucked into midfield, and Arda Güler plays a really nice ball around the corner. So give Güler his credit, give Kylian Mbappe his credit for the finish. But from an Atleti perspective, you can't get sucked in like that and leave that kind of room, leave those channels open with Kylian Mbappe on the park. And then the second goal was Lindemann. It was a mistake. And still, you score 5. It quite easy, I think Craig said, it quite easily could have been 3 or 4 more, in all honesty. And I thought that was Atleti, certainly their best this season, but the best that we have seen them for quite some time against a team who, up until now, were absolutely perfect. Pressed well, pressed effectively, and just outran, had more character, more personality. We come back to that word than Real Madrid.
Just quickly, there's 2 players have come into 2 big clubs from Bournemouth. Nothing against them, good players. Huijsen and Kerkez. And Huijsen's had it relatively easy up to now, but he's just had his first taste. I know he's played for Spain recently, and he's got some international caps, but not in this level of intensity. And he's just got a taste of life outside playing for a small club in that huge arena in a cauldron. And it was, if we're being honest about it, it was a real struggle for him today. And we've seen the struggle Kerkez has had thus far at Liverpool. There's a big difference playing in a small provincial club and stepping up to the big time. And we're seeing that very early with these 2 players.